All right, the UFC is over for 2025. Almost forgot what year it was. And we got a couple weeks until our first cards of 2026 on January 24th. So I just want to go give a quick breakdown of a couple fights, a couple events that are happening until then. We've got boxing, we've got MMA, we've got Muay Thai, we've got kickboxing. But before that, I just want to do a quick recap of my year of picks. I'm not going to go through every pick, obviously, but yeah, there was 520 fights I picked this year. I think I missed less than 10, maybe even less than 5. I picked every card. It just some fights fell through after I made my video or my predictions. So I'm not 100% sure that I got all every fight. I know there's at least like a couple that I missed, like 1 or 2. But yeah, of the 520 fights that I picked, 338 of them I got correct. 174 of them I got wrong, and 8 of them were draws or no contests, which puts me at 65% correct, 33% incorrect, and 1% or 1.5% draws no contest, which I think is pretty solid. I haven't been like counting other people's picks, but I saw there's a channel that does like a breakdown of like the major MMA channels as far as their picks, and I think most people are between 60 and 65%, and no one's really above like 65%. So I don't mind that, especially when this is just, also including draws, so no contest. So I'm about actually 67% or 66%. Oh shit. So not bad. Not a great year of picks, but I think I got a good amount right. I didn't have any. I feel like in years past I've had good picks. Like this is a pick I can think of where I'm like, wow, that was really smart of me. The only one I can think of really is I liked, I picked Rainer de Ridder over Bo Nickel. I feel like I had a good read on that fight. But there's a couple fights where I was very confident, and I was still wrong. Like the first card of the year last year, I picked Victoria Dudakova as a 6-1 underdog over Fatima Klein, and she got dominated. So you can't win them all. But yeah, decent year of picks. I'll start counting again for next year. But yeah, if you guys want to let me know how you did in the comments, I'm curious to know that. Okay, on to fights to look forward to. I'm going to start with MMA. I think this is mostly in order, like chronologically. So the first one I wrote was Octagon 81 is on Sunday, the December 28th, so this Sunday. It's in Prague, and I listed where all of these fights take place just so you have a general idea of what time they take place, because I didn't want to write down every time for every time zone. So this one's in Prague, so it'll be, early in the day for Americans. But the main event is Will Fleury versus Martin Buday. Martin Buday obviously just got cut from the UFC. He was 6-1-1, I believe, or maybe 6-1. I don't know. But decent fighter in the UFC. He's fighting Will Fleury, who I think is a solid heavyweight. And I'll give my general predictions for fights that I'm more familiar with. And for this fight, I'm going to pick Will Fleury, I think. I think Martin Buday is a little overrated. I think he should have lost to Andrei Arlovsky. That decision shouldn't have got his way. The Iran Sachibaldiev decision was close. And my scorecard was for Sachibaldiev. And then the Lucas Bursky fight was a really bad robbery, one of the worst of all time. And Lucas Bursky is not very good. A lot of people complained when Buday got cut because he was 6-1, but if you look at who he actually fought and beat, his wins that were very clear were Chris Barnett, who's horrible, Jake Collier, I think he fought Parisian, like a lot of like really out of shape, shitty heavyweights, and then like Buchecha as well. So not a lot of good wins, and even his better wins are very questionable, like Arlovsky and Bursky and Sachibaldiev, like 3 of like the better fighters he fought, he arguably lost, and then he clearly lost to Shamil Gaziev. So I don't really think Buday's all that good, and I would pick Will Fleury to beat him. The card also on Octagon 81 has Zhalgas Zhumagulov, who is the Kazakhstani guy with the bowl cut that fought Manel Kape, and he fought Joshua Vam and a couple other guys in the UFC. He got robbed like 3 fights in a row. That's kind of what he's known, or maybe not 3 fights in a row, but he had split decisions. I think 3 in a row, and a lot of them were really close, including the Manel Kape fight. And also including a fight against Charles Johnson. So he's a pretty solid fighter. And then David Dvorak, his opponent, and he was also in the UFC. Actually, I didn't know where he went because I know he lost to Steve Erceg. I just assumed he was in the UFC, not getting fights the whole time. But he's in Octagon now, so I don't know if this is his first fight out of the UFC or if it's one of his, or if he's had more. But I'm going to pick Zhumagulov. I think he's a little bit better. I think David Dvorak looked worse against a little bit worse competition. And the people that Zhumagulov lost to in the UFC are not very bad. So I think he has a good chance of winning that. And there's also Jonas Maegard versus Elvis Silva. Jonas Maegard has a couple close fights with fighters that are now in the UFC. He has a loss to Igor Severino, who is a good prospect who got cut from the UFC for biting, what's his name, Diego Lima. And then Jonas Maegard also had a close fight with Felipe Lima, who's the guy who had a close fight with Talbot. So Maegard, pretty solid fighter outside the UFC. I think he takes this one as well against Elvis Silva. Not a very good opponent, in my opinion. The next card we have is the Rizin New Year's card. Their title for it is Rizin Shiwasu no Cho Suwamona Matsuri. I don't speak any Japanese. I don't know what that means. But every year, Rizin does a New Year's event. The timing's a little weird for us in the States because Japan is like 12 or 13 hours ahead of us, at least on the East Coast. So the event takes, and it's usually a long event too. Like this year, there's 15 fights. Last year, there was like 20 with a couple like exhibition matches. But usually it starts like the early prelims. It'll start at like 8 p.m. and the card will run until like 6 a.m. Eastern time. So if you're gonna watch this, like I am, it's not on New Year's Eve for us, so you don't have to miss like a New Year's Eve celebration. But it will run into the morning of New Year's Eve because they're 13 hours ahead of us. So, but yeah, last year was a great card. This year there's not as many exhibition fights. Like last year they had Sina Krimian versus Ruki Ampo, which is a heavyweight kickboxer versus a what he be? He's a welterweight, right? He fought at 170 his last fight, missed weight. But yeah, they fought in an exhibition boxing match, and Sina Krimian is known for being not a very great fighter, but a great cheater. He cheats a lot in all of his fights, and Ruki Ampo is kind of like a bombastic, he's a character in the Japanese kickboxing world. So that fight was really entertaining. I would go back and watch that. And then there was a lot of other good fights last year. And this year, like I said, they took a step back when it came to the wild exhibition stuff, which is a little disappointing because these Rizin New Year events always kind of harken back to the Pride New Year events. And those had a lot more exhibition stuff. So it really felt like you were in a maybe not even a time capsule. You're just looking at a different culture that we don't really have around here. But yeah, they didn't do any exhibition fights this year, but they went all out with like high-level fights. I think there's 6 men's title fights on this card, or at least 6 total title fights. And I would say almost all of them, are between the best fighter in the division and the second best fighter in the division, or at least first and second most proven in the division. And a lot of these guys, I feel like, can make a good run at any high-level MMA promotion like the UFC or PFL or whatnot. So the main event is Rajabali Dulaev versus Mikuru Asakura. Mikuru Asakura, I believe, is Kai Asakura's brother. He's more of a celebrity than he is like a known fighter. He wasn't known for being the most skilled guy in Rizin, but he just beat Kleber Koik for, I believe it was the interim belt or something like that, or these are 2 different weight classes. So this is technically a champion versus champion matchup. But Dulaev is really, really good. He knocked out Kleber Koik as well. And then in his last fight, he fought Kolesnik. It's either Vitor or Victor Kolesnik, who's a good fighter, and he destroyed him. He mopped the floor with him. Dulaev is really good. I believe he's one of the better featherweights in the whole world, including Volkanovski and Lopez and all the UFC guys. So that's definitely a fight to look out for. Co-main event is Roberto de Souza, or Satoshi de Souza, versus Shunto Nomura. I think this fight might have gotten canceled. It's still listed on Tapology, but I feel like I heard like a week ago that this fight was off. But what was canceled was what's his name? Soldatkin versus Ryan Bader was supposed to be on this card, which would have been like not like an exhibition, but it would have been like a cool fight to be on this card. But I'm sure they'll remake that in the future. And then down the card we have Seika Izawa versus Reina Kubota. It's a women's fight, decent. Seika Izawa is really good. She's probably going to be a big favorite. Naoki Inoue versus Danny Sabatello. Sabatello, formerly in Bellator and PFL, I believe. Fought a couple fights in Rizin. Naoki Inoue, not the most exciting fighter, but he's pretty good. Hiromasa Ogakubo versus Yuki Matoya. Obviously Ogakubo, or Hiro. I actually don't know how to pronounce his last name. When he was in the UFC or in the Ultimate Fighter, they only called him by his first name, and then in Rizin, all his fights are in Japanese, and I don't really understand what they're saying. But Hiromasa, fighting Yuki Matoya, that's a good fight. Yeah, he fought, like I said, in the Ultimate Fighter. He beat Pantoja. He beat Nkazimulu Zulu. He's a good fighter. He beat Kaya Sakura. He's 1-1 with him. Had good fights with a lot of the flyweights and Risen, or the bantamweights. And then Yuka Montoya is also a long-time Risen fighter. I'm surprised. I think they might have fought before. I'd be surprised if they hadn't, just because they've both been at the similar level in the same promotion for a while. Down the card, Yutaka Saito versus Ren Sugiyama. I don't really know a ton about Saito, but I know Ren Sugiyama is Yaman, the kickboxer. Good, entertaining fight in his last fight, where he gassed out like crazy. He was like, knocked his opponent out and was laying on the floor for like minutes at a time. I think he was throwing up backstage. But that was a really good fight. Kleber Quick versus Vugar Karamov. I'm surprised this is kind of this far down the card, based on the fact that Kleber Quick was the main event in last year's New Year's card. And he won it. But yeah, Vugar Karamov, solid. I believe is he Uzbek or is he Tajik? He's from around there. And Kleber Quick is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specialist. He's really good. Ryuya Fukuda versus Tetsuya Ando. Both of these guys are really entertaining fighters. Tetsuya Ando was on road to UFC. In his last fight, he had a really good performance where he got like he rocked his opponent, and then he had like a sick judo throw into a submission. I think it was a rear naked choke, and had the guy bleeding out of his forehead and unconscious, kind of like Alex Oliveira versus Gunnar Nelson. Makato Shinryu versus Hiroya Kondo. I think this is kind of a tune-up for Shinryu. I don't know a ton about Kondo, but he doesn't have a very good record. I think he's like 11-14 or something like that. Karshiga Doubtback versus Yuta Kubo. Yuta Kubo can't get a good matchup to save his life. I believe he fought Sheduliev. Was it him? He fought a really tough opponent in last year's New Year's card, and got kind of beat up. And they're giving him Doubtback, who has a win over what's his name, Chihiro Suzuki. I think he has a win over Ren Sugiyama as well. I don't know. Good fighter. And then Noah Bay versus Ilkham Nazimov. Noah Bay, good kickboxer, exciting fighter. That'll be a good card. There's also the whatever their like amateur league tournament. I'm pretty sure the final is on that card, but I didn't double check. But yeah, that's definitely the event I'm probably looking forward to the most, especially in MMA until we get the UFC returning. Also, we have Octagon 82. Not a very good card. I don't know if they're still announcing fights for that. It's on January 17th, which is a Saturday. It's in Dusseldorf, Germany, so it'll be a couple hours behind us, or ahead of us rather, in the U.S. And the main event is between Kerem Engizek, who's a good Turkish fighter, and Krzysztof Joko, who is formerly in the UFC. He was a good middleweight. He got cut after he lost to Brendan Allen, but he was a solid little fighter. I believe he went to PFL, then he went to Octagon. And then the last MMA event we have is one Fight Night 39. And a lot of the fights aren't even MMA because it's one, so it's a lot of Muay Thai and grappling. But the main event is Rambolek versus Abdullah Daikayev. Good fight. I think Daikayev's, I don't know. I can see Rambolek winning. But yeah, good Muay Thai fight. Co-main event is Helena Cravar versus Teshnia Noelani Alo. I don't know Cravar's opponent, but Helena Cravar, one of the better grapplers in the world. This is a submission grappling match. I'm pretty sure she's coming off of... Didn't you win the women's side of the CGI event? CGI 2? I don't know. Colin Thorani versus Asadullah Iman Ghazaliev. Iman Ghazaliev is one of the more entertaining Muay Thai fighters. He's one of my favorites. There's a lot of spinning shit, a lot of axe kicks and front kicks and spinning elbows. He's coming off of a head kick win over Pan Payak in his last fight. He's taking on another tough Thai. Should be a good fight. Bokang Masunyani versus Ryohei Kurosawa. That'll be a good fight. I don't really remember who these people are. I just wrote down the fights that look good. Lucas Gabriel versus Magomed Akayev. Both these guys pretty solid. That should be a good... it's one MMA. I don't really know if this is going to be in a... I should have looked up where this fight was. I didn't write it down. It's probably going to be at Lumpini. Should be in a ring, and if we're in the ring, I'm pretty sure that means there's the superior rule set. Or maybe no stomps or something like that. But yeah, Lucas Gabriel versus Magomed Akayev should be a good fight. And then Chihiro Sawada versus Natalie Salcedo. Sawada's pretty good. She was, I believe, an Olympic wrestler. And she's fighting someone. I think she's undefeated, but not very good. I don't know. On to the boxing. Saturday on December 27th, so this upcoming Saturday in Tokoname, Japan. Masamichi Ibuki versus Felix Alvarado for the flyweight title. I don't know if it'll be a good fight or not. I'm not very familiar with Ibuki, but this seems like kind of a little bit of a tune-up. And then obviously also on Saturday in Riyadh, On December 27th, we've got the Ring 5 card, which the main event is Naoya Inoue versus David Picasso. Great fight. I mean, kind of a tune-up for Inoue, but it's hard to find matchups that aren't tune-ups for Inoue. And speaking of matchups that aren't tune-ups for Inoue, Jushin Nakatani versus Sebastian Hernandez Reyes. I mean, assuming both these fighters win in Nakatani and Inoue, we're going to get that big matchup in May. Kind of sucks that this card is in Riyadh because it's like the best Japanese prospects, or even fighters, all fighting not in Japan because they could have the Tokyo Dome or whatever. But if we get Nakatani versus Inoue in the Tokyo Dome, that'd be awesome. These fights should be good anyways. I think Picasso and Hernandez Reyes are getting kind of overlooked. They're pretty decent fighters. And I don't know. I think Nakatani and Inoue are like top 5 pound for pound for me. So I'm just praying we get both of them. None of them get injured. None of them get hurt. We get this fight. Down the card, we have Kenshiro Taraji versus Willibaldo Perez. Taraji coming off a loss. But before he lost, he was like top 10 pound for pound on a lot of people's lists. Good fighter. He's fighting Willibaldo Perez. I don't know a ton about him, but I'm imagining Taraji is a big favorite. Taiga Imanaga versus Erickson Garcia. Same kind of thing. Imanaga, really good prospect. Pretty sure it's undefeated, like 9-0. Something like that. Yeah. And then Reito Tsutsumi versus Leobardo Quintana Sanchez. Reito Tsutsumi is really good. He fought, I believe, at the last 2 ring cards. I know he fought at the like Garcia Romero, like that outdoor like Times Square card, and then he also fought, I think, at Canelo Crawford, and he looked really good. But now he's fighting like his first like legit opponent. Pretty sure it was an 8-round fight rather than the. I'm pretty sure that the couple of fights he's fought recently were 4 and 6 round fights. So he's got an 8-round fight against a good opponent with a good record. Should be good fun. On December 31st, Kazuto Ioka is having a fight, and I don't really know any of the other fighters in the card. I don't even know who he's fighting really. Michael Ordos Goidi. You might hear that and think he's like Mongolian or something, but he's from Venezuela. Very strange name. But Ioka pretty good. He's got a win over Kosei Tanaka. He's got the close 2 fights with Martinez, who Bam Rodriguez just knocked out. So another good name in those lighter weight classes. That's in Tokyo, so it'll be hard to watch if you're an American, both time-wise and like finding a way to watch it. January 3rd, Amanda Serrano versus Reina Tellez. I don't really care. I mean, I'm not really interested in women's boxing, but that's in Puerto Rico, so it'll probably be easy to watch. It's probably on Netflix or I think Amanda Serrano's with Jake Paul, so I don't know. It'll probably be easy to watch. On January 10th in Brooklyn, Subriel Matias is fighting Dalton Smith. Should be a good fight. Subriel Matias, really good, really interesting style. He lost to Liam Paro, so he lost a lot of hype, but he's still a really good fighter. He's still got a really interesting style. He hits like a motherfucker, and he's got infinite cardio, and he's like a zombie. And he's got a body. Subriel Matias really calls back to like the golden age of boxing. Like, you're talking about characters from the 50s and 60s. He fits right in. He's got a wild style that no one would tell him to fight like now. He's got all of the physical attributes that you'd ask for. And he fights like a zombie, and he has killed someone, which fits him in with like Ezzard Charles and Jersey Joe Walcott and all those golden age boxers. And then Hendry Cedeno, I think it could be Andre Cedeno versus Alfredo Santiago. Good fight, and the co-main event of that. On January 10th, which is another same day as that, on a Saturday in Oberhausen, Germany, Agit Kabayel, or Agit, pretty sure it's Agit, is fighting Damian Naiba. Kabayel's really good. This is a tune-up for him. He's definitely in the running for fighting Usyk. I don't know if Usyk's going to fight him. Usyk really hasn't called out Opataya, or not Opataya, sorry, Aitama or Kabayel, which I think are the 2 most interesting matchups in my opinion for him. On Friday, January 16th, I'll go with Kabayel. Yeah, he's got a really interesting style. He throws a lot of body punches, which is rare for heavyweights. So, that's something to look out for. Like I said, this is a tune-up, but maybe he could show some interesting stuff in this fight. And I think if he wins this in impressive fashion, like a first or second round knockout, or a dominant victory, I think he can definitely earn a title shot against Usyk. Again, assuming Usyk will ever fight him. Yeah, January 16th, which is a Friday, in Brisbane, Australia. Liam Parra versus Paddy Donovan, decent fight. The co-main event is Nikita Tszyu versus Michael Zarafa. Probably be pretty hard to watch because it's in Australia if you're not, in a time zone close. If you're in the United States, for example, this is going to be on a Thursday for us. And then on the same day as UFC 324, but in the morning or earlier in the day, you've got Moses Itama versus Jermaine Franklin Jr. and then Liam Davies versus Zach Miller. A couple good fights. Itama again. I feel like it's going to be a battle between who has the better performance in Caballel and Itama for basically who gets to call out Usyk with a little more credit. I think obviously Caballel is a little bit more proven, but Itama I think has a higher upside. So yeah, I think that'll be something to look out for in fighting. So yeah, let me know what you think of these fights. If there's any other fights that I missed. I checked Rise, I checked K1, I checked Glory, I checked RWS. Doesn't look like there's any big Muay Thai or kickboxing events outside of one, which is kind of suck, but not the best because one doesn't really throw the best events. Sometimes you'll see a fight between Masayaki Nuiri and Superbon, and it'll be in a cage and under Muay Thai rules basically. But it is what it is. Pretty decent fights for the next month. It's pretty, because a lot of the world celebrates Christmas around this time. A lot of people don't want to train around this time, which is kind of why the UFC takes a break. So that's why it's nice to look at like Japan or the Middle East to look for events, because those fighters do not celebrate Christmas. But yeah, let me know what you think of the fights. Again, if there's any I missed, let me know. I like the video, share the video. I just posted a video yesterday about well, I'm recording this on Christmas Eve, so I posted it the day before Christmas Eve. I might post this video tomorrow, depending on how lazy I am. But yeah, I posted a video yesterday about my ballot for the UFC awards. Go watch that. You can watch my predictions for the whole year. Like I said, they're pretty decent, so if you're interested in what I had to say, I've got a playlist with every prediction video for the entire year. And then next year, I will be back on the same grind and predicting every card. So yeah, subscribe. Like the video, share the video, all that jazz. Yeah, thank you for listening.